Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishwaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namah. Om Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namah. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Bhadram Karne Vishrunuyaama Devaha Bhadram Pakshe Makshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangaye Stuštuvagum Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vriddhashravaha Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastina Starksho Arishthanemihi Swastino Brihaspatirdhadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So, Namaste once again, everyone.
Namaste Guruji, Pranam.
Namaste, Pranam.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste Guruji.
Namaste, Namaste. Okay. So, we are in mantra number 2.1.9. Okay. We will chant the mantra. Atas samudra girayascha sarve
Samudra Giriyascha Sarve
अस्मात् स्यन्दन्ते सिन्धवः सर्वरूपाः
Asmat Sanyate Sindhava Sarvarupa
अतश्च सर्वा ओषधयो रसश्च
Sarva Ushadayo Rasacha
येनैष भूतैस्तिष्ठते ह्यन्तरात्मा
Enesha Bhutaistishtate Antaruratma.
Good. So, the first section of the second Mundaka is presenting the topic of creation. And while listing out some of the aspects of the creation, the Upanishad says that everything in the creation is born of Ishvara. Sagunam Brahman or Maya Sahitam Brahman. And this is the main message the Upanishad wants to convey. Only when we understand that everything in the cosmos, every living and non-living being is born of Ishvara, will we be able to elevate our attitude to perceiving everything in the universe as Ishvara only. And that is important because understanding Ishvara as having Vishwarupa form is necessary for moving forward to understand Ishvara as Arupa, formless. And going further, understanding that that formless Ishvara is none other than my own self. Assimilating and abiding in this knowledge is the final goal of spirituality, Advaita Vedanta. It is the final destination of the spiritual journey. And in that journey, we can say that we are somewhere in the halfway mark. The marathon is going on. Still more rounds to go. And therefore, continuing with the theme of Ishvara Srishti, this mantra says mountains, oceans, rivers, plants, etc. Everything is born out of Brahman. And in the last class, we entered the bhashyam of this mantra and we were discussing the sentence Asmad eva purushat sarve syandante sravanti gangadhyah sindavah nadyah sarva rupah bahurupah. I will not repeat what we have already discussed in this sentence. The last word we were discussing was sarva rupah in the moolam, which Bhashyakara explains as bahurupah, referring to the rivers, which are also born of Ishvara. Bahurupa means of different types. Now, what are the different types of rivers? Some of them are long rivers, some of them are short, some of them are wide, some of them like Brahmaputra, which is said to be 26 kilometers wide near Dibrugarh in Assam. In fact, it is not, it looks like an ocean, not a river. If you look at it from one bank. And some of them flow from north to south or east to west. Some of them from west to east. Thus, there are numerous varieties. And as I said in the last class, some of them have different mineral contents. And I gave the example of Tamaraparani in South India. And therefore, the Upanishad says varieties of rivers Asmadeva Purushat Prabhavanti. And this completes the first half of the mantra. Now, Bhashyakara takes up the second half, that is Atascha Sarvaha Oshadayaha Rasascha Yenesha Bhutaihi Tishtate Hi Antaratma. Atascha is in the moolam. Bhashyakara says it means Asmadeva Purushat. From that Purusha alone. Sarvaha Oshadayaha. All types of plants. Like what? Vrihi Yavadhyaha. This Vrihi Yavadhyaha is a standard idiom in the Bhashyam he uses. Whenever he wants to refer to grain, cereals or plants, etc., he will use Vrihi Yavadhyaha. Vrihi means paddy. Yava means barley. Adhyaha means etc. And in etc., we can include all grains, cereals, pulses, etc. All agricultural edible products we can include in etc. And here also we have to supply the verb prabhavanti. They are also born out of Brahman Purusha. Then the next sentence in the Bhashyam is, and we will read, you can all unmute, Rasascha
Rasasya
Maduradihi
Maduradihi
Shadvidaha
Shadvidaha
Yena Rasena Bhutaihi Panchabihi
Bhutaihi Panchabihi
Stulaihi Pariveshtitaha
Stulaihi Viveshtaha
Yesha Tishtate
Yesha Tistate
Tishtati
Tishtati
Yantaratma
Antaratma
Lingam
Lingam
Ukshma Shariram.
Sukshma Shariram.
Okay, so the next word in the moolam is rasah. And Bhashyakara says rasah means madhuradi shad vidaha. sixfold taste or sixfold flavor, beginning with madhuram, etc. So shad rasa. I have already listed out the sixfold taste while discussing the words of the mantra. So I don't think I will repeat them. And all these are also born out of Brahman only. And this sixfold taste alone gives the nutrients or the nutrition to the body, which helps the Stula Shariram and Sukshma Shariram, both together. In short, nutrition alone, or we can say food alone, keeps the body and soul together. If you ask what is the proof, try to starve for a couple of days, then you will know. The body and soul will be separated. And that is why, even though the food contains a lot of nutrients, etc., as we grow older, it becomes difficult for the body to absorb those nutrients. Of course, it's not the case, I cannot generalize it, but for most people, this problem is there. And that's why when you go to the doctor, he will say, take this supplement, that supplement, take care your potassium does not go down very much, etc. But if you have a very balanced diet throughout, to a large extent, whatever nutrients that we require, we get from our food itself. Therefore, rasa is the sustainer. So, yena rasena, because of this anna rasam, nutrition alone, bhutaihi panjabihi stulaihi. Bhutaihi is in the moolam. Bhashyakara comments, panchabihi stulaihi. That means what? The word bhutaihi refers to the 5 gross elements. And in this context, the 5 gross elements means the stula shariram, which is the product of panchabhutas. So he says bhutaihi is equal to stula bhutaihi. And stula bhutaihi is equal to stula sharirena. And therefore the final meaning is the physical body. Bhutaihi means the physical body. Pariveshtitaha. Pariveshtitaha means surrounded. So surrounded or associated with the physical body, yeshaha tishtate. Yeshaha tishtate is in the mantra, and Bhashyakara says tishtati. Tishtate is a Atmanepade form. Stadhatu is actually Parasmai Pada. So Tishtate is a Chandasa Prayoga. The correct grammar form is Tishtati. So Bhashyakara says this is the correct form. Tishtati is the correct form. Read Tishtate as Tishtati. So Yeshahat Tishtate means this remains. So surrounded or associated with the Stula Shariram, this remains. Now what is that which remains? The mantra says, Hi Antaratma. And now Bhashyakara realizes that this could cause confusion. So here he says that the word Antaratma should be taken as Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body. It is not a reference to the original Atma, the Satchidananda Atma, which is also residing inside the Sukshma Shariram only. And therefore, in the context of this mantra, he clarifies and says that here Antaratma refers to Lingam. A Lingam means Sukshma Shariram. Now you may ask, Why is Sukshma Shariram called Lingam or Linga Shariram? So the derivation is Lingyate Nyayate Anena iti Lingam. Sukshma Sharira is that by which the presence of Atma is indicated or known. So one can appreciate the presence of Atma consciousness with the help of Linga Shariram. Even though we say Atma is self-evident, but Atma, the consciousness, is avyakta, cannot be perceived by our sense organs. And therefore, its presence can be appreciated through the sentiency of the Sukshma Shariram. Tongue twisters. But if you notice, Bhashyakara takes a little different approach. He says, look at the whole sentence and see its meaning. The sentence says that because of the nutrition alone, the gross body is associated with this Antaratma. That means what? Because of nutrition alone, the two bodies, the Stula Shariram and the Sukshma Shariram, are together. And that means because of nutrition alone, a person is alive. And of course, we know that for life to sustain, the association of Stula and Sukshma Shariram are necessary. And why the subtle body is called Antaratma, Bhashyakara explains. He says, we will read, Tadhi,
Tadhi
Tadhi,
Tadhi
Antarale,
Antarale
Sharirasya,
Sharirasya
Atmanascha,
Atmanascha
Atmavat Vartate,
Atmavat Vartate
Iti Antaratma.
Iti Antaratma.
So he explains why the Sukshma Shariram is called Antaratma here. He says, Tadhi Antarale means that alone. Tadhi means that alone indeed. That is the Sukshma Shariram alone. Antarale is the intermediary one, the middle one. The word Anta has got two meanings. It can mean inside or in between, intermediary also. In this context, the word Anta in Antaratma means intermediary one, the middle one. Antarale. So middle one between what and what? Sharirasya Atmanascha. The Sukshma Shariram is in between the Stula Shariram and Atma, the consciousness. And therefore, it is called an intermediary one. Then the next question will be, why do you call it Atma and not Sukshma Shariram? Very valid question. Why do you confuse the students with all these, terminologies? Some place Sukshma Sharira, Atma means Sukshma Shariram. Some place Atma means Stula Shariram. Some place Atma means consciousness. Some place Atma means the mind. Why all this? And Upanishads use all these, you can call them tricks. Because at the end of the day, one of the things which all the Upanishads, all the Acharyas and all Guru Parampara insist is, never learn the scriptures on your own. Go to a Guru, Tad Vijnanartam Guru Eva Abhigachet. We saw that earlier, isn't it, in this Upanishad itself? Go to a Guru, and that too a Sampradaya Guru, who will explain all these things to you so that you are very clear. Well, otherwise, what will happen? Suppose you are studying on your own and you come across this word Antaratma. Oh, you'll say, oh, okay, this is because this is Upanishad, and Upanishad has to refer to Atma, consciousness. Oh, here the reference is to consciousness. That is the interpretation we will take. But then at that time, we will forget one fact, that we are still in the second Mundaka, first section, where the topic of Atma, the consciousness, Brahman, has not even started. Here, the Upanishad is talking only about what? About Srishti Prakriya. And therefore, we have to always bear that in our mind, that context in mind, and interpret the words according to the context. That is the style of the Upanishad. And one more thing that we must realize, that Sukshma Shariram resembles Atma. Because like Atma, we cannot see the Sukshma Shariram, isn't it? Sukshma Shariram is required for realizing Atma, for understanding and gaining the knowledge of Atma. And the consciousness is reflected in the Sukshma Shariram only. And that is why Sukshma Shariram, even though it is a part of the present body, mind, sense complex, when this body falls, Sukshma Shariram leaves this body and goes and takes up another body. And that Sukshma Shariram is powered by consciousness for the travel. And therefore, Sukshma Shariram resembles Atma because of the reflected consciousness. And that is why we often use the word Aham in the meaning of Sukshma Shariram, because Sukshma Shariram, being sentient, appears like Atma. In fact, the Stula Shariram borrows a sentiency from Sukshma Shariram only. And therefore he says Atmavat Vartate. And therefore it is called Antaratma. And that's why in Taittiriya Upanishad also, Stula Shariram is called Atma. It is called Atma first. Because Stula Shariram also resembles Atma, and it is sentient because of borrowed consciousness. And we find this mantra in Taittiriya Upanishad. Anyontara Atma Pranamaya hai. So Pranamaya Kosha is called Atma. Then Anyontara Atma Manomaya hai. So Manomaya Kosha is called Atma. Because they both belong to Sukshma Shariram and they resemble the Atma with borrowed consciousness. Thus all Panchakoshas resemble the Atma, and that is why people mistake them to be Atma. Isn't it? In fact, Atma people roughly translate as soul. And that is why when a person dies, what actually travels is the Sukshma Shariram. But what is this expression people use? His soul has left the body. Now, if you are a Vedanta student, you may have an urge to correct that person. The soul can never leave the body. The soul is all pervading, etc., etc. But then those persons will not understand what you are talking. If you happen to be somebody close to the person who is dead, they will think that, because of the death that you have received such a shock, mental shock, that you have gone bonkers. So don't try all that. Let them say, soul has left the body, may the soul rest in peace. All these expressions are there. They just say because they have no understanding of all these things. And therefore, Sukshma Shariram is here called Antaratma. And all these are all born out of Brahman. That we have to supply. So with this, the 9th mantra is over. So in this mantra, it was said that the mountains, ocean, river, plants, all the nutrition, all of them are born of Paramatma. That is the essence of the mantra. Okay. Now we will go to the next mantra, which is the last mantra of this section. Mantra 32. Excuse me. So this last mantra of this section is a very significant mantra. In this mantra, Shruti is going to show the Tatparyam of Srishti Prakarana. In the previous mantras, that is from the 3rd to the 9th, creation was talked about. But Shruti really does not have Tatparyam in it. Shruti does not have real commitment to describe the creation. The Tatparyam of the Shruti, which I have often repeated, is to show or reveal the fact that everything is Brahman. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnav, Brahmanahutam. That is what is Tatparyam of Shruti. And that is what finally Shruti wants to reveal, for which all the above details were given. Now one may ask, if that be so, why is Shruti taking this long winded route, Instead of touching the nose like this, goes around and touches the nose like this. In just one mantra, it could have said everything is born of Brahman. And therefore, everything is indeed Brahman. Because the cause pervades the effect. That is true. But when we say everything, the definition of everything differs from person to person. For example, imagine a new departmental store has opened near your house. Huge departmental store. And you are explaining that to some friend of yours. You are saying, our area is really developing because the huge departmental store has opened near my house. Just walking distance. Anything I want, I can just walk across and buy. It's a huge store and everything is available in the store. That is what we normally say, everything is available. Then if your friend is a bit mischievous, he will ask, everything means is aeroplane also available in the store? Is a train or bus available? Obviously not. Then he will mock you, saying, how can you say everything is available in the store? So you say, no, I mean everything means everything that is required for our day-to-day living. So therefore, whenever we use the word everything, it cannot include everything in the universe. Most of the time, we will have to qualify that everything means what? Everything means whatever I need is available in the store. Similarly, sometimes when we talk about some scholar, some very highly, what you can call well-read person, well-learned. We will say, he's so well-learned, scholar, he knows everything. Again, such a statement is questionable, isn't it? Everything means what? Does he know geography? Does he know cosmology? We'll ask all that questions, We are always, especially in the friends group and all that, if somebody makes some such generalized statement, we will want to pull his legs. And therefore, the Shruti doesn't want to just say everything and leave it vague. Of course, the Shruti is not still listing out everything in the creation. But it provides enough examples so that we can extend the logic to everything in the creation. And that is why the Shruti, after saying Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, goes on to list Sapta Prana, Saptarchisha, Samidha, Sapta Homa, Samudra, Gireya, Sindava, Oshadaya, Rasa, etc. All, from here some. Once you understand all these are all born of Brahman, extend that logic, you are all intelligent students, Shruti says. So that is the Tatparyam of Shruti in presenting the Srishti Prakaranam. Pujya Swamiji used to explain that in Shruti, in the Upanishadic literature, there are two types of Vakyas. One Adhyaropa Vakyas and the other Apavada Vakyas. Adhyaropa Vakyas means sentences which express a deliberate superimposition where various things will be presented as born from Ishvara, born of Purusha. Brahman is presented as Karanam. Jagat is presented as Karyam. So the status of being the cause is imposed upon Brahman. And mind you, it is a deliberate superimposition. Not that the Shruti is ignorant of the fact. And such sentences are called Adhyaropa Vakyas, deliberate superimposition on Brahman. And this Mundakopanishad is full of such Adhyaropa Vakyas. And this Adhyaropa superimposition, we actually employ this what I call practice even in day-to-day life. Especially in mathematics and all that, suppose there is an equation, find the value of x. What we will do? We'll say, let x be 100. What does that mean? We are imposing a value 100, superimposing a value 100 on that x which is unknown. And then we will solve the equation. And eventually we will do the apavada of that 100. We will remove the effect of that 100 and solve the equation. And therefore, Adhyaropa has to always be followed by Apavada. That is the second type of Vakyas called Apavada Vakyas. The sentences where negation of this causal status of Brahman is dealt with. In those sentences, it will be said that the world which was said to be born of Brahman does not really exist. It is only an appearance. Nothing exists apart from Brahman. Everything else which appears to exist does not have existence of its own. They do not have the substance. They are not substantial. And therefore, the world being Nama Rupatmakam, it is Mithya. So the Karyam, the effect, which is the world, is Mithya. When that becomes Mithya, the Karanatva status of Brahman also becomes Mithya, isn't it? All along we say Brahman is Karanam, world is the Karyam, Brahman is the cause, world is the effect. When you say there is no effect at all, it is only a mirage which you are seeing, like a mirage, then there is no Karanam. So the Karanatva status of Brahman also is negated. When there is no product at all, where is the question of a cause being there? And all these are all, higher levels. We are slowly moving towards higher levels of the Upanishad, higher levels of this knowledge, Atma Vidya. And therefore, we have to be very careful in understanding all this. Mind you, existence of Brahman is not negated, only the causal status of Brahman is negated. And this conclusion, the Upanishad conveys through a process of elimination. It is called Adhyaropa Apavada Prakriya. And the Upanishads do not stop there. In fact, this is not even the climax of the story. The Upanishad wants us to understand one very important aspect. And that is, this Brahman, which is Karya Karana Vilakshana, is the Chaitanya Swarupa Atma. That is to be understood. Otherwise, we will understand Jagat is Mithya. We'll say, okay, we understand Jagat is an appearance, Mithya. And Brahman is there, and I am also there. So, okay, Jagat is not there, but Brahman is there, and I am there. And therefore, Dvaitam will still be there. If that idea persists, we will never reach Advaitam. And therefore, in the final stage, the independent existence of the Jiva is also negated by saying that Jiva and Brahman are one and the same. The Jiva is only a reflection of the Chaitanya Swarupam of Brahman. And therefore, Brahman, which was till now an object, becomes a subject. So, I understand that I am that Brahman, that consciousness. That Sarvatmakam Brahman I am. And that is the climax where Aham Brahmasmi Jnanam comes. That is the culmination of the entire teaching. That is the final vision of the Upanishads. And that is the Tatparyam of Shruti. While going into all these details about Srishti Prakaran. And therefore, in and through all these discussions, we must never lose sight of the Tatparyam of Shruti. What is the final goal of the Shruti, which is our goal also? That we must never forget, rather. And therefore, as a part of the above process, the Upanishad talks first about Purusha, Paramatma, the Jagat Karan. We have talked about Jiva, the Jivatma, and also we have talked about Jagat. Now we have got three factors, Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Out of these three, we have to eliminate the Jiva and Jagat. So two must be negated, and then only we can arrive at Advaitam. So the three is now going to be reduced to one. And that is the aim of this last mantra. And how does the Upanishad go about doing that? Bhashyakara says, of these three, Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara, the Jagat, the world, has to be negated first by saying that the world is the effect and Brahman is the cause. The effect cannot exist separate from the cause, and therefore the effect is mere name and form. It is only an appearance of the cause with a name and form. It is only mithya. It does not have existence on its own, which we can count or reckon. It has only borrowed existence. And one more important aspect is, which is where many people get it wrong, we have to understand this word mithya very well. Because it is interpreted by different people in different ways, and sometimes with negative connotations also. Mithya means false, they say. So they say the world is false. What do you mean world is false? It is existing, we can experience the world, how can it be false? All that arguments comes. Mithya word is an ontological term. It does not have any value judgment. Mithya doesn't mean good or bad. There is nothing called good mithya and bad mithya. Mithya means mithya. We can say mithya is something which appears to exist but does not have real existence. Like in a movie, a good character, a very noble person in the movie is also mithya. And a cruel villain is also mithya. Because both are imaginary characters in so far as the movie is concerned. Therefore, when we use the word mithya, we have to understand that it is relatively unreal. And therefore, from the standpoint of absolute reality, it is unreal. And therefore, it cannot be considered on par with absolute reality. Some of these discussions we have been having earlier also, in different contexts rather, isn't it? I have actually mentioned about Paramarthika, Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika realities, 3 levels of realities. Both Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika are mithya from Paramarthika standpoint of view. Pratibhasika is mithya from Vyavaharika standpoint. So all that we have discussed earlier, so you must remember all these things. And moreover, one problem is this concept of mithya is introduced only in Advaita Vedanta. Other philosophical schools do not accept it. In fact, some of them even mock at this concept. I don't know whether I told you a story earlier. Doesn't matter. At the cost of repetition, I will say it because contextually it is relevant. So there is a story in which one Acharya from a different school, he narrates a story. He says there was this Advaita Guru who was teaching Vedanta in a forest to a few students. And he was saying that the whole world is mithya, unreal. At that time, a tiger appeared and was about to pounce upon them. Seeing the tiger, the Guru asked all the students to run away and take shelter. He also ran away. Now, this Acharya who was narrating this story, Acharya belonging to another school of thought, he mocked the Advaita Guru saying that if everything was mithya, then the tiger was also mithya. And therefore, why did he run away and also ask the students to run away? Isn't it? Very good question. You are just teaching everybody everything is mithya. So tiger should also be mithya. There is no real tiger. Why are you running away? On the face of it, it's a very convincing argument. And many of us could easily be misled by such arguments. Now, what he is actually not revealed is, or not understood is, if the tiger was mithya, so was the guru, so were the students, so was the fact of running away. Everything is mithya. And if that is understood that way, then the story has no basis. Isn't it? And therefore, as a Advaita practitioners, our thinking should be very clear, very, very objective. Because most of the time, that is what happens in courts also. The lawyers, they will tell half truth. It will appear as truth. The other lawyer will reveal the other half of the truth, but he will not talk about the truth which this fellow has revealed. And therefore, we have to look at everything objectively and the totality of the whole thing. So in the story, if everything is mithya, there is no story, no basis for the story at all. And this is how, some people mischievously mock Advaita Vedanta. Anyway, I thought I'll give you this background before we enter the mantra. Okay. Now we'll come back to Sangati Bhashyam for establishing the Mithyatvam of the Jagat. And Bhashyakara takes the help of a Shruti Vakyam from Chandogya Upanishad. We will read the introductory Bhashyam. Okay, all of you can unmute. Evam Purushat
Evam
Purushat
Sarvamidam Samprasutam
Sarvamidam Samprasutam
Ataha
Ataha
Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadheyam
Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadheyam
Anritam Anritam Purusha
Purusha
Ityeva Satyam.
Ityeva Satyam
So he says Ataha
Ataha.
Evam Purushat. Evam Purushat. It starts with Evam Purushat. Evam means in this manner. In this manner means in the manner described in the earlier mantras, from the 3rd to the 9th mantras. So whatever has been talked about from the 3rd mantra up to the 9th mantra is referred to by Bhashyakara as Evam in this manner. Purushat. From the Purusha, which was talked about in the 2nd mantra. If you remember, Divyo hi amurtah Purusha. There in the 2nd mantra, it was talked about that Purusha. So Purushat means from that Purusha, Sarvamidam Samprasutam. Sarvamidam means this everything. All that is Pratyaksha Gocharam, Pramana Gocharam, that which are available for knowing through the sense organs. Samprasutam. Samprasutam means Samyak Prasutam, very well done. Even though the entire world is mithya, as they say, there is a method in madness. There is an order in the mithya also. Isn't it? We can discern an order in the entire working of the universe, which is what we often refer to as the cosmic order. Everything is perfect. Samyak Prasutam. As Puja Swamiji says, entire world is intelligently put together. Intelligently put together. Ataha means therefore. Therefore means wherefore. Brahmana Purushat Prasutatvad. Because of being born of Purusha. Means being a karyam, a product. So the word ataha means being a product born of Brahman. Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam. It is a part of a mantra from Chandogya Upanishad, mantra 614. Anritam. So Vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam anritam should be seen together. Anritam should go with Vacharambanam, etc. We should not read Anritam Purusha. That will be totally wrong. So Bhashyakara is borrowing a Chandogya Vakyam and puts it under quotes. Now what does this quotation say? Namadheyam means Nama Matram, only a name. And what do we mean only a name? Means it is not a substance. It is not having substantiality. And what is only a name without substance? It says vikaraha. Generally, we translate vikaraha as modification. But in this context, vikaraha means every product, everything in the creation, because everything is a modification or manifestation of Ishvara only. And therefore, we can translate vikaraha as product. So, vikaro namadheyam means every product, everything in the creation is only a name. And the name is started with vacha. Vacha means speech. Arambanam means started with. That which is born of speech. That which is started by speech. So every product is nothing but a name uttered by the tongue. That means what? Every product in the creation exists only on your tongue. A product does not exist outside as a substance. And therefore the product comes under the definition of mithya. So Jagat Mithya Karyatvat Rajju Sarpatvat. Jagat Mithya Karyatvat Rajju Sarpavat. And how do you know the Karyam is Mithya? Is Bhashyakara is making up all these things? For that, Bhashyakara says we should see the complete Chandogya Vakya. Then you will understand what is the idea behind the small, 2 words of the mantra he has quoted. What is the Chandogya Vakyam? It says, Yatha somya ekena mritpindena sarvam mrinmayan vijñatam syat. Vacharambanam vikaro namadevam mrittika ityeva satyam. Very simple Sanskrit. We can easily understand. So here the context is Swetaketu is a student of Shaunaka, who is our hero, isn't it? Shaunaka, who was Kasminnu Bhagavo Vijñate Sarvamidam Vijñatam Bhavati iti. That Shaunaka. So he asked the student, raising a question. For that, the teacher is giving the answer. Yatha somya ekena mritpindena sarvam mrinmayam vijnanam syat. Just as by knowing the lump of clay, all products of clay are as well known. That means the essence of all products of clay are known. Therefore, mritika ityeva satyam. The clay alone is real, and all the products of clay are nothing but vacharambanam vikaro namadeyam. Just different names of the clay uttered by the tongue, started by the speech. So this vakyam says the clay alone is the reality. All products of clay like pot, cup, plate, etc. are just nama rupa, name and form given to that clay. So by saying clay alone is real, what is indirectly said is pot, you can call it unreal because it is only an appearance. And we have seen one example before also. When there are two people and I point out to one and I say, this person is very intelligent, what does that mean? It means the other person is not that intelligent. Suppose I make it worse by saying, this person alone is intelligent, then it means the other person is certainly not intelligent. And another example is that I show two similarly sparkling pieces of a gem to another person and say that one of them alone is real diamond. Which means what? Even though the other one is sparkling like a diamond, it is not a real diamond. It only sparkles like a diamond. Similarly, after talking about clay and pot, the Upanishad says clay alone is real. It means the products like pot, etc. are unreal. And extending the Chandogya logic, Bhashyakara says the entire world is vikaraha. Therefore, anritam mithya. And like the Chandogya Vakyam where it says Brittika ityeva satyam, Bhashyakara says Purushaha ityeva satyam. So Purusha, Ishvara, Brahman alone is the reality. And the entire world of products is only nama matram, name and form only. It has no substance. It is mithya. And that is what popularly is said as Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Before every class, I am playing that mantra, isn't it? Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. Entire essence of Upanishad in one sentence. And therefore, Bhashyakara says, Ataha, therefore. He means, therefore, read the mantra which conveys the same message of what the message Chandogya Upanishad is conveying. We will read the mantra, okay? All of you can unmute.
Purusha
evedam vishwam
Purusha evedam vishwam
karma tapaha
karma tapaha
brahma paramritam
brahma paramritam
etadyo veda
etyo veda
nihitam guhayam
nihitam guhayam
so vidya granthim
so vidya granthim
vikirita Vikiratiha Somya.
Vikiratiha Somya.
Somya.
I will give you the Padacheda and then we will close. Okay. Purushaha eva idam vishwam karma tapaha brahma paramritam etad yaha veda nihitam guhayam saha avidya granthim vikirati iha somya. That is the Padacheda. Next class, I will start with the gist of this mantra. Okay. We'll stop here. Time is up. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti
Om
Shanti
Shanti
Shanti.
Shanti
Harihi
Shanti.
Om Sri Gurubhyo
Hari Om
Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo
Harihi
Namaha.
Om.
Hari Om.
Dhanyavadaha. Thank you all very much.
Namaskaram Guru.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guruji.
Namaskaram Guruji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Advance pranams. Day after is Guru Purnima Guruji.
Yeah.
Advance pranams.
Wish you all a very happy Guru Purnima.
Thank you, Guruji.
Not have a
Namaskaram.
class on Guru Purnima day. So wish you all
Yes,
luck.
sir.
I wish that all Gurus, Guru Parampara's blessing shower on you so that you continue your spiritual journey successfully. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Guruji.
Yes,
Thank
Guruji.
you, Guruji.
Thank you, Guruji. Namaskaram, Guruji.
Namaskaram. Thank you very
Namaskaram.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Namaste. Hari Om.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Pranams, Guruji.
Pranam. Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. Pranam.
Pranam. Thank you.
Guruji, I'm just, it's probably again, it's just a theoretical question more than the actual question, and doesn't actually come in the way of understanding our ultimate goal. In today's class, we were saying about the Sukshma Sharira gets its energy or the reflection from the Atma, from the Paramatma, or the. Then we didn't mention anything about the Karana Sharira, because in the previous, I think Tattva Bodha or Atma Bodha, it's the Karana Sharira which gets the reflection first, and then from that the Sukshma Sharira gets, and from that the Sthula Sharira gets the reflection. So when a person dies, it is the Sukshma Sharira and the Karana Sharira with the Jivatma within inverted commas leaves the body. So in this context, Karana Sharira doesn't appear anywhere.
But it is not mentioned in the mantra. Context is not there. Later on, we will see if it comes in the third Mundaka. No, it can come in second Mundaka. Actually, I don't remember the entire Mundaka. So I'm not sure whether Karana Sharira is touched upon here. Yeah, ultimately, as I said, those are all, in the introductory thing that we say in Tattva Bodha and all that. It says it's a complete, Tattva Bodha is a condensation of all the Vedantic message. Okay. So
Yes.
in a short text, we cover everything rather in a very, very brief, like an oversight kind of a thing. But then when we go into the mantras, into the Upanishads, etc.,
Yes,
different
Guruji.
Upanishads present all these things in different ways. So Karana
Yes.
Sharira, your understanding is perfectly okay. But
Thank you.
contextually, Karana Sharira has not come. Here only Sukshma Shariram is coming. So then we will see, we will continue this journey and see whether Karana Shariram is talked about in future.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Guruji. Pranam. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste. Yes, Sulekha ji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste.
My question is from today's class. I'm not getting the understanding that you've talked about with respect to mithya and vak and speech. And I'm just wondering, when you mentioned earlier in class today that those names and forms, if I'm paraphrasing, the names and forms reside in our speech. do they not also have their own essence, which is the essence of Brahman? How can they be mithya if they only reside in speech? I'm sure I'm misunderstanding. I might be confusing two things at once, but I'm not able to grasp what you are saying.
See, whatever objects, who gives the names to the objects?
Speech?
We give the name, isn't it? Suppose there is some new things there. We have never seen it earlier. We will give it a name, right? Some name we'll say. Suppose this is there. It's a new thing I'm seeing. I'll say, oh, I will call it flask. Okay. What is flask? Only a name. You can choose to call it something else as a container. That's also true. So the same material can be given different names. And therefore, everything in this entire universe has been identified and given names. And they exist only in our tongue as names. Now, your question is, we also say Brahman. Now, Brahman also is a name in my tongue. Is that not mithya? Very good question. The name Brahman is mithya. In fact, if you actually look at it, the entire Upanishad is mithya. Entire teaching is mithya. Everything is mithya. What exists is only Brahman, what we call Brahman with our Nama Rupa. But even without that name, consciousness exists. Because we want to identify, understand something, we are giving consciousness, Brahman, soul, etc., names, etc. The names are all mithya. But the fact of the matter is that Brahman alone exists, and that is what we have to ultimately understand, so that we do not actually, the word Brahman we may negate, but that existence, consciousness, and limitlessness we cannot negate, because that is the quality or aspects of what we call Brahman. You understand? These are very subtle kind of thing we have to understand. The word Brahman is mithya only because it is again vikaro namadev. On our mouth we say the word Brahman. Instead of Brahman we could have called, we say Ishwara. Okay. It's all our own definition. What we call Ishwara is nothing but Brahman plus Maya, we say combined is Ishwara. Who has given that definition? We means it is the sages who have given definition. The rishis who wrote the Upanishads, they have given these definitions. But the problem with the rishis is they have actually realized what the whole universe is all about, the reality of the universe. Right? Now they want to convey it to us. How will they do? They have to use words only. And therefore, even the word Brahman in the ultimate analysis is mithya only. You cannot describe Brahman with any word. You cannot describe a phenomenon called Brahman with any words or any, it is beyond all sense organs, everything. That is what we have to understand. But one thing that we have to understand, that everything exists in this universe because of that Brahman alone. That is what is pervading the entire universe and makes it appear as if this is all real. So these are actually, a question is a very PhD level question. But I hope I have not confused you. But this is the answer if you want. Even the word Brahman is mithya only from that point perspective. But then That is why we say Paramarthika Satyam. Means what? Absolute reality. So there we are bringing in gradation. So the word Brahman is again coined by us for ease of understanding, ease of communication. So you can call it by any other name. As Shakespeare said, it will remain what it is, its own quality, or I can't even say quality. What it is, it will remain it is by whatever name you call it.
And
So I hope
speech is our limitation.
Speech is our creation.
Yeah, I know you have actually given an answer that is cleared some of my confusion. I think more so than anything is to re-listen and to contemplate what the teachings are providing, because if we are using speech as a means to convey knowledge, and Brahman can only be through cognition, the cognition, not through experience. Knowledge is in many ways, even when we want to convey our experience, we have to use speech. And this is beyond experience. This is beyond uh, uh, words. So I appreciate what you are saying and how you have taught us, because you're leading us, as I think, very, very clearly, step by step.
That is why,
And very much.
when you realize I am that Brahman, means what? All my name, form, everything falls off.
Yes.
I am is there, but what that I is, I have to understand. Isn't it? It's a it's a highly philosophical concept.
Yes.
Eventually, that is what Nididhyasanam is all about. We have to contemplate on that and assimilate that knowledge that what I call I am, my existence, everything is the reality, absolute reality of this universe, not this body, not this mind. These are all just, I have given these names, my body, shariram, manas, and all that. These are all vikaro, namadaya, modifications of that absolute reality, which we cannot see, which we cannot experience, which we cannot touch, which we cannot do anything. And that alone is there, and that is what Advaitam is all about.
Thank you,
So
Guruji.
that is
Hari
where
Om.
you have to reach. That is the, what you can call the target or the bullseye that has to be hit. Those people who hit that bullseye become jnanis. As simple as that.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you for a
Because
beautiful.
the problem is when we talk all
teaching.
these things, sometimes it could confuse people more than it could clarify rather. So I am always very careful. But since you brought it up, I thought that, it's only 4 or 5 people are there. I will not venture to say this in an open class at this stage. Maybe at later stage, I will say that when I am confident that people have, students have actually understood where we are going like that. But
You're leading. Thank you, Guruji. You're leading in a very, very methodical and very carefully measured step by step, which I think is
all my gurus. They have done it.
Yes, I understand that.
I am
Through your
only an
gurus, you
actor
are.
on stage who is actually saying the lines of my gurus. That's all. You can take
That's
that.
true. But even as you say it, somehow your shishyas are uh, taking it as much as to each of our own capacity. We understand, and our capacity can only grow as we continue to learn. And for that, I'm very, very grateful, and I appreciate it. Hari Om. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ilva. So I think I can close the session, continue next week. Okay. Wish you all again a very happy Guru Purnima. Thank you very much.
आपको भी गुरुजी अनंत प्रणाम for the Guru Purnima. अनंत
Hari Om.
प्रणाम.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari.
Hari Om. Thank you.